Let's do this.
Welcome back to The Adoptimist Way. I'm your host, Paige, and in each episode, we will be taking a deep dive into the topics that are so important to adoptive parents today. I'm talking about how to meet potential birth parents online, starting an adoption website or profile, making fresh videos, and just understanding the need to get yourself out there online, even when it's not comfortable. This podcast is going to be part inspiration, part instruction, and hopefully really useful for you. There's a lot to know about trying to make online connections, but don't be intimidated. We're here to help. And today, we're going to be talking with a family who has been in your shoes, gone through those stressful or confusing moments, and now has a beautiful family with 2 adopted children. Crystal, Chris, it's so great to have you here with me today.
Sure, thanks for having us.
First, I would love to hear more about your story and your history of infertility. Could you tell us a bit about what that was like?
I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, aka PCOS, when I was about 16. And at that time, they said, don't worry, when it's time to get pregnant, we'll just put you on some medicine and you'll get pregnant. So fast forward to when I met my husband and we were trying to have a family. That was not the case. It was really difficult. We started out on the oral medications that help you to ovulate, and that didn't work. And then because of my age, I believe we were able to just go right into in vitro fertilization. And we had a good turnout with eggs and things, but I ended up having 7 miscarriages, and it was just torturous.
I bet.
It was hard for me too because I have to try to stay strong for her and but definitely, she's facing all of the emotions, both physical and psychologically.
Yeah, and it's a lot of roller coasters of emotions, of building up hope and feeling like,
Oh
this
yeah.
could be it, and then being disappointed and let down. And that's a lot to deal with. It's a lot of grief.
I mean, it's
Exactly.
crazy to say, but we've probably spent hundreds of dollars on pregnancy tests and just the ups and downs was just crazy in every way.
So what made you decide to adopt?
Well, after we had the 7 miscarriages, I would say the last, I guess, issue, obstacle that we faced was we lost the 8 embryos that we had up in Western New York. But, because of the fine print, we couldn't really do much. And we felt that, because we're godly people.
Mm-hmm.
We felt that God had a different path for us, and we started to pursue adoption. And from there, this was right before COVID. Um, we found an agency in Baltimore, Maryland, where we were living in Maryland at the time, pretty much traveling up and down the East Coast, trying to figure out how to build a family. But we found this agency and we got the ball rolling through the home study. Took extra time because of COVID. Everything was closed. The permits, permit offices. It was just very difficult to even have the social worker come to the house. I mean, they did, but obviously there was a lot of protection in place.
Mm-hmm.
Once we finished with the home study, it was probably just over a year. We put down the money to get on the placement list. We were told we were family number 74, and they told us go to work, don't worry about it.
Go travel.
Go travel. And hopefully in 3 years, we'll be placed with a baby. And we had limited, I guess regions that we could adopt from. At the time it was only Maryland, DC, and Virginia. But we tried to make the most of it and we decided to be patient.
So 3 years is the wait time that they gave you.
It was then, yeah.
It was then, and who
Wow.
knows how it could have been longer, with COVID,
And
Right.
impacts.
I just wanted to add something about the adoption for people that are hesitant because I was hesitant. I went through the emotions of I want to carry my own babies. Why can't I do this? Why do I have the will? And like Chris said, we're very faithful people. And we prayed with our pastor one day and he brought up the word adoption. And I didn't get upset that time. I felt okay. You're like, maybe it's time. And from that moment, like Chris is a go-getter. So he's not just going to stay stagnant and wait 3 years. So he's like, there's got to be something else we can do. So thankfully for him, he pushed it a little bit, but um, I just hope people can really find in their hearts to be open to it. There's so much misinformation out there that had gotten in my head. I thought there's no way we can adopt. We're not rich. We don't do this. We're not that. And it's not true. Like, just be open to it because there's a lot out there for you.
There are so many ways to have a family.
Mm-hmm. Be open.
So you mentioned that you worked with an adoption agency. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? And did you also work with an adoption attorney at the time?
We didn't have the attorney first. We started with the adoption agency, and they were wonderful. They send out a social worker that's basically just tells you how to navigate the entire situation. They lay it out there, tell you what the expectations are, step by step. So we were really prepared by this social worker.
There were a lot of, online training at the time.
Yes, we took
We
the
spent many hours doing, one-on-one training, group training, to really prepare us on how to deal with the birth parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because in America, it's usually an open adoption. So, you want to be able to find ways to build that relationship between, the birth parents and the adoptive parents.
Which I was against open adoption too. And then through the process, they really showed us the pros and cons as to why you really do want to open, if you can. And that helped a lot. So they are so good at coming back to all of your concerns you have. They really help you to just navigate all those concerns, and you just have to be open and they'll help you through the whole thing.
What were some of your concerns with open adoption originally?
My concerns were kind of superficial now when I think about it, but are they going to know I'm their mom? Are they going to be angry? Is the family going to constantly be wanting to be involved? At that time, we did not have an attorney, so I wasn't prepared in the sense of knowing that there's laws that they set, so you're not constantly, in contact with the family and things like that. So they just talked me through all of those things, and I realized that it's not about Chris and Crystal. It's about your potential family and their feelings. So once they kind of told us all about how important it would be for them to know their genealogy and things, it made sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, a lot of adopted kids, when they get old enough, they go and look for their birth family anyway, whether it was a closed or an open adoption. So when you guys did decide to adopt, what made you decide to try using Adoptimist?
Well, I worked with a family restaurant chain. I was the director of operations, and the owner, it's family owned. His first child was adopted, so his wife actually mentioned it to us, and for the amount that it was per month, the fee, we were like, that's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So we went, we had nothing to lose at the time, in our heads. And, we put our life out there, we put our profile up, and, we started, started getting a few hits, not too much on the scam side, which we were, cautious about. But we didn't really get the quality hits that we were looking for. And I'll never forget the same day, this was probably 2 weeks in, Crystal actually revamped our pictures to really make it look more authentic and, not, airbrushed or anything like that. And she was saying to her, herself out loud, I'm never going to be a mom. She was starting to cry, and then she went upstairs to bed with our dog. And I'll never forget, probably, I would say a half an hour later, this girl messaged us and said, "I need a an adoptive family, and I'm giving birth in a week." And at the time, we had a onesie as a lucky charm. We weren't ready. We were ready mentally, but we didn't have any of the infrastructure in place to have a baby. And she was, halfway across the country in Kansas City, and we were in Maryland
She
at
was
the
in
time.
Missouri.
Wow.
That's why Adoptimus was so amazing. It had so many different states. I don't even know you might have countries. It was like just so open to so many people. And I do want to throw in that put our hearts at ease because we did not get any spam. Like if they thought that something was cautious,
Yeah.
then you got an alert right away.
Mhm.
The vetting system on the
Yes.
platform was fantastic. So, we were hesitant in the beginning and, cautiously optimistic along the way, but, the platform itself was fantastic.
Yeah.
But to get back into, that girl contacting us, I spoke to her probably for a few hours that night, really just to try to vet her and see how real this was. I went upstairs and I woke Crystal up and I said, this might be for real. We'll see what happens. The next morning we FaceTimed her, just really to confirm that she was pregnant. And we literally hopped on a plane later that day and flew
Wow.
out to Kansas City. But we took her out to dinner. We got to, talk with her for a little bit, and then we hopped on a plane and went back to Maryland, uh, not thinking that she was going to reach back out to us the next day and say that she was going into labor.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so
Poor girl.
we ended up flying back out on Halloween Day, 20 was 2020
Wow.
on Halloween. I'll never forget because all the flight attendants were wearing costumes. Um, so we went out there, and we she didn't have any prenatal care at the time, so she was mistaken on her labor situation. She wasn't in labor, and
She just wanted us there.
she just wanted us there. I think she was scared that she was going to be faced with pregnancy, without anything lined up because the family before us, for whatever reason, they parted ways, and we were out there.
And that's when we met our first attorney.
Yeah,
Wow.
I actually, kind of went over the whole, trying to round up a whole legal team before we even got out there. We didn't have any connections. So, I had to figure out a way to, line up attorneys for all parties, social worker, all that kind of stuff.
And what were those experiences like?
Uncharted territory. It was just a challenge, making sure that you were getting connected with the right people. I mean, Google was our friend at the time.
Yeah, but Chris, you called probably 60 lawyers and one said, I can help you.
Yeah.
Because our
Wow.
story sounded
And
absurd.
I'll say his first name is his
Mike.
name is Mike.
And the way he showed up, it was in our hotel room. We had him come in, and he was so gung-ho about helping us and getting us our family that it was like when you say when something's meant to be and all the pieces fall together, that's what was happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's magical.
it was wild.
And then he then connected us to our social worker, Angel, who we still stay in touch with. They were friends and had partnered together with other adoptions. So then they became our team for Nico, for our first.
Wow. When you made your account on Adoptimus, did you have any idea that all of this was going to happen for you so quickly? Like, what were you thinking when you were setting up your profile?
Well, you made me sound like a negative Nelly, and I guess I was, but I was hopeful. We were hopeful, but you have you just have those thoughts that everybody has that there's so many other families. Why us? And Adoptimist tells you be yourself. Like put pictures of yourself in doing your hobbies that you love. Or and once I switched our pictures over,
A
our
profile.
profile, and I just was totally genuine who we were, that's when she wrote. But I think that we were nervous, just like with everything else, but hopeful.
But she mentioned to us that our pictures were the reason why she reached out to us because there were so many other people that I I don't know about materialistic being the right word, but they were really, just the perfect scenario,
Yeah, they didn't seem
and they
authentic.
didn't seem authentic, and she felt different with us, which led her to reach out to us. So I would say to any of the viewers right now, just be yourself, be authentic, and you'll have that same or similar opportunity if you just stay patient and
Open.
keep the faith.
How much time and effort did you put into your profile and these pictures? And I know you say you did like a whole
Mhm.
revamp after you created it originally. So, how much of a focus was your Adoptimist profile for you in your adoption
It was
process?
easy. I know it's very user friendly, and I think I probably just spent an hour, and that was just looking at other people to see ideas. I Googled how to make an adoption page. Um, but I think it wasn't very lengthy at all. The process was really easy. I did that myself.
Yeah, that was all.
And I
That was all
sent it and
Crystal.
I was like, Chris, look, do you like it? And he was like, yeah, that's great. And then that's it.
And I know you guys mentioned having more authentic and genuine and hobby focused and less airbrushed photos. Do you think that that is like a specific decision that you made that really made your profile
I
stand
have to
out?
say yes because we did not get any hits. And when I did that, literally, we got the one, and I think there was another one. So yes,
Yeah, no, I would agree. It was just
it was that night.
it was that night. Yeah.
How did it feel when you got that message and you said you talked for a few hours that night? What was that like? Did you know in that moment that this is going to be it? This is our birth mother, like this is going to be our child, or were you still kind of skeptical and unsure?
I guess we always had the unsure feeling in the back of our mind, but overall I don't know. I think we just like let God take control, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And just talking to her and just feeling her out. At the time it was all through messaging. Just really made me feel more comfortable. And then, you know, seeing her on camera the next morning, verifying that she was pregnant, was
Hmm.
just icing on the cake.
Well, I wanted to say too that even she said there were a lot of like, you're gonna think I'm not real because she was married, she had a family already. Yeah, a few things like the husband was still involved, just a few things that they tell you to look out for,
Yeah.
scams and things.
Hmm.
And it was like, no, this is really her. So be open again, trust in the process, even though it's hard.
I mean, to add on, I think them being married was one of the biggest possible red flags
Hmm.
at the time, because
Hmm.
I mean you don't think about being married and having to go through the adoption process,
Yeah.
but we didn't really know him at the time. But because we were out there for a few, 3 weeks before our son Nico was born, we were able to form that bond with them and relationship, um, coming from two different worlds, but we
Hmm.
were able to find a way to build a relationship that worked and really catapulted us to his birth.
Hmm.
That's amazing. And I honestly just think it is so amazing that you met your birth family so
Mhm.
quickly and you were able to have this experience so soon, especially after such a long period of so many traumatic experiences and so much
Mhm.
grief. But the adoption process can take a really long time and it can take a while to make that really meaningful connection. We have a lot of users that will end up canceling their memberships before they ever get to make a connection. Did you have any plans for how long you were going to keep your account active, or were you just sort of seeing what would
We didn't
happen?
really discuss that. I don't think we were, at a point, where we started to discuss canceling any sort of membership. But I would like to add for the viewers, I mean, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's, ups and downs. I mean, yes, it's ups and downs, but it's, every case is different. You're dealing with different people on both sides. The fact that we were able to meet the birth parents so early on was remarkable on our end, but it's not always the case. And I don't want people out there to think that in 2, 3 weeks from posting publishing their profile, that they're going to have the same blessings that we had. Um, don't give up. Your time will come.
That's what I was going to say. I would never take my profile down. That's how I felt because it just takes that one click of someone. So keep it up until you find your person. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adoptimist is such a more economical vehicle to get to where you want to be, when you're building a family, than going through the private, agency route.
Hmm.
There's different, you know, I guess ways that you have to kind of build the infrastructure around to be able to, do it all legally. Going through
Mhm.
Adoptimist versus a private agency, but it's all worth it.
And you guys went through your adoption during the pandemic. So, how did that affect your adoption process? And what made you choose to continue using Adoptimus, even though everything was pretty much shut down during the
I
pandemic?
think we were so fully invested into building a family that nothing was going to stop us.
Hmm.
COVID, definitely the first year of COVID was a lot of unknowns. We didn't know that, what the disease was going to, bring to the world. I got
Hmm.
sick that August, pretty bad, with COVID and, but we still truck forward and, nothing was going to stop us in our minds. And, I think one of the reasons that we also kept moving forward was when we met that parents. It was very soon before he was born, so we didn't have 9 months of
Hmm.
preparation and having to build that relationship at the time.
And I think with COVID, I feel like the only thing I can say is just we lived day by day through that.
Yeah.
So, like, we just day by day did whatever we had to do to get through that.
Did the pandemic make it difficult to try to connect with the birth family and travel and even be in the hospital? I know lots of times they had limited visitors and things like that during the pandemic. You say Missouri was a little bit looser in their restrictions, but how did that affect your experience?
The birth parents didn't have any concerns about COVID. So we really there was no like issues on the comfort
Mm-mm.
level side. We were fully invested. They were committed at the time. So that wasn't going to stop us. Once she went into labor, and we drove her to the hospital in labor. We experienced a lot of the same things that you would normally experience naturally giving birth, except, for actually naturally giving birth. But we drove her to the hospital. We ended up getting our own hospital room.
Yeah, they were good,
They were
but
great.
only one of us could stay.
Only at the time we
Hmm.
there was only one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but we were both in the hospital.
Yeah,
No,
no, I'm sorry.
our son, we both were in the
Yeah,
hospital
that's
room
right. They
for.
let us in.
So and they didn't even have us wear masks at the time. In the in the hospital room, but we were there within a minute after he was born.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we got to name him. We took over the power of attorney right away. And in Missouri, it's a 48-hour window to give up your parental rights. Every state is different. I'm not gonna get into that because the longer the wait, the harder it is emotionally. But Missouri was relatively short, 48 hours. I think that's long enough because that was the longest 48 hours of our life. But we were with our son Nico right from the beginning. You know, she
That's amazing.
Crystal did the skin to skin and all the bonding and everything else that comes along with naturally giving birth.
And I bet having those experiences of being able to drive her to the hospital and being there right at that moment helped a lot with those feelings you originally had about wanting to have, wanting to be pregnant yourself and wanting to
Mhm.
have that experience. I think you got as close as you possibly could have to that. And that's
Yeah.
amazing.
No, for me as a father, I always wanted to experience that. So blowing through red lights and everything else on that evening, that really made all the difference for me emotionally. Um, but it was also, I think, it helped Crystal too get through,
Mhm.
just the whole journey that we faced.
Yeah, absolutely. How did the overall experience of this connection compare to your expectations? What did you think it was going to be like to make this connection compared to what your reality was?
Well, when you're going through a doctorate, they make the connection, but you're sort of on your own after that, when you meet the birth parents. So for us, it was, they had a lot more, contact with us, opposed to maybe a private agency where they're kind of like separating both parties. And
Mhm.
I don't know if we did it the other way, if it would have panned out the way that it did. I think, having that contact, it was dramatic at times. I'm not going to get into all of the details, but they lived a whole different type of life than we did that really made it pretty dramatic at times. You had to be careful on the, money exchange. You can't, you got to document everything. So
Hmm.
whatever we gave them was for their living expenses. The courts were going to vet that. The judge,
That's why you
asked
have a
me,
lawyer.
and that's why you have lawyers to really navigate
Hmm.
that shit.
Sounds like there can be a lot of stress and a lot of like drama, but in the end, it's all very beautiful when it all works out, and that is absolutely amazing.
Wouldn't change it for the
Um,
world.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't want to have it any other way because it got
No.
you here.
Yep.
And after that adoption, did you continue to maintain a relationship? You said it was an open adoption. So, did you have a relationship with the birth parents after?
I would say sporadically.
Well, you do the
Chris, yeah,
post-adoption contact agreement with the courts so that they kind of lay out expectations.
yeah. So we had some, contact, through whether it's, Facebook or, even the phone at times. But our contact also led us to her saying she was pregnant probably 6 months after we got back home. And we were just taken back when she said she got pregnant. We spent about a month walking on eggshells, not knowing, but I would say July of 2021, we I just pulled the Band-Aid off and
Wow.
I said, what are you doing with the baby? And she was hesitant to ask us if we were ready to adopt another one. So we
Oh,
were
so you guys
both
were
walking
both
on,
just dancing
we
around
we
each
were both
other.
dancing around, and we were like, "Yeah, we're ready." And she's like, "Oh, great," because I want to adopt this one to you also. And it was a different dynamic because we already had the relationship, and now we're going. Now it's July of 2021, and we had months to go until our daughter Kaya was born, and it was all worth it.
Would you say the second adoption and birth was smoother overall than the first time through?
That's what we had anticipated, but absolutely not.
No, it was a
It came
total.
with its own challenges. Even though it was the same couple, it was different dynamics.
A relationship with another person is always going to be difficult to maintain. And I think you're absolutely right that each adoption and each child is going to come with their own unique challenges and struggles, and you just have to keep working through it.
Yeah,
Use your resources, like your social worker as your angel.
with and to kind of backtrack a little bit with the second um adoption. When we first found out, they moved 3 hours south
Mm.
of Kansas City. So now there's a whole nother jurisdiction, different laws,
Different
Oh.
lawyers.
different lawyers. So I had to come up with a whole nother legal team. And I'll never forget, I probably called about 30 attorneys at the time. At this point, it's getting close to the holiday season. So trying to find an attorney
It's Thanksgiving.
that's gonna deal with an adoption right around Thanksgiving or Christmas. A lot of them went on vacation, so I would say the 27th or 28th lawyer that we contacted, she reached out to us, and she was so excited to work with us, and she felt the emotion through the phone, and it just went from there. Our social worker that we had in Kansas City actually traveled 3 hours south to work with us again.
Wow, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah, we still stay in touch with her now.
So, can you tell us what made you ready to tell your story now and what you're hoping other people can learn from it?
I'll start. Um, I was so hopeless for so many years. I'm probably gonna cry now, but you keep seeing it happening to everybody else and not you, and it's hard. So we just want to let people know that it can happen. It does happen. It will happen. And you just have to stay faithful and don't give up, because so many times I wanted to give up, and you I feel like we heard a lot of success stories, but there weren't, like, they never had challenges, I felt like. I want to be real. I want to let everybody know the good, the bad, the roller coaster, like we said, and just know to stay strong through it all. That's why I want to tell.
We leaned on certain people during our journey. So we felt like, we couldn't have done it without them. There's a lot of people out there that are, they're losing hope and the will to continue, and the challenges that ensue are just insurmountable. And we want to let people know that, you know, there's God has a plan, and if you just stay the course and just keep moving forward and keep praying, that great things are going to unfold for you, and that plan is going to unfold, and you're going to be able to you know kind of reap all the rewards that you deserve.
You guys are gonna make me cry. Your perseverance is just so commendable, and you're right, like the different struggles that you guys have been through are some both unique and yet so common challenges in this process. And I think that it is really helpful for other people to hear that this isn't the smooth process that you hear about in, adoption agency advertisements of, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, and you're going to make this perfect connection, and, it's all going to be okay. And it takes a long time, and it can be a lot of heartbreak and struggles. And I just think that your story is so beautiful, and I think there is so much to learn from it and so much motivation to be found within it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, anything worth going for takes hard work. You can't always find the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I guess our testimony is we stayed the course, and I probably made the same prayer every day for 4 years, trying to figure out why I'm not a father. And I never blamed Crystal. I never, none of those thoughts came to mind. I just didn't know what the path was.
Mm-hmm. What would you guys say is your best piece of advice for families who are currently going through the adoption process and facing many of the same struggles that your family went through?
I hated when people told me to be patient. I was like, I can't relax. I can't. But it can happen and it will happen. Like I said, be patient and don't listen to what everybody has to say. Know your facts, find out your facts, because so many people were like, you can't adopt, you don't have this or that. It's not true. So look into it. You can do it. That's probably my biggest word is like, trust your journey, listen to yourself, and keep going.
I would say be cautious on, to add to Crystal, the social media sites, the group pages. Just be careful with that.
Yes.
Take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
Yes.
You can build, relationships from that, with other people going through similar situations. But everybody's going to deal with something different. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. We certainly had people around us giving their 2 cents. We didn't let it impact, our resolve and our determination to build a family.
Yeah, absolutely. That is great advice. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for sharing your story with me today. I have loved hearing it, and I think that a lot of people are really going to resonate with it. And again, I am Paige Woodall, reminding you that when it comes to adoption outreach, there is the wrong way and the Adoptimist way. You can learn more about adoption outreach and advertising anytime at adoptimist.com.